We execute choices and we get consequences. I'm not going into the subject, but just for the benefit of people who have not done HTBs. We execute choices and we have consequences. A lot of what we believe is maturity is we feel we should become matured enough to execute right choices. We should become matured enough to execute better choices. We should become matured enough to be prudent in our choices, and that's what our entire focus is going on. The fact is that when you execute a choice, you can have a preference of a consequence, but you cannot choose your consequences. What consequence I will receive, I do not know. I can get anything as a consequence. Sometimes I get what I want, sometimes I don't get what I want. And the way we look at it is that we should have maturity to execute the next choice, and we keep going on in this life. What we don't realize in between is, whenever we get a consequence which is not what we want, it creates a deep level of emotional disturbance in us. A very, very deep level of emotional disturbance in us. And that deep emotional disturbance that you suffer will invite more emotional disturbances into your life, no matter how matured you are about the choices that you execute in life. Because the design of life is that to which you associate deep emotions, positive or negative, will recur in your life. That to which you associate deep emotions, positive or negative, will, not may, not might, not could, will recur in your life. I repeat, that to which you associate deep emotions, positive or negative. Again repeating positive and negative, because your subconscious does not know the difference between positive and negative emotions. And I know to some of you I'm saying this probably the 50th time. And yet I see smallest of things in life provokes huge negative reactions in you, huge negative emotions in you, not realizing every time you suffer a disturbance, you have not only suffered a disturbance for what has happened right now, you have also booked an advance ticket for some more disturbances to happen in the future. Every time you have suffered a negative emotion, by whatever name you want to call it, and you know it's a negative emotion because you know that when you go through that emotion you are not peaceful. You know it's a negative emotion because when you go through the emotion you are not physically comfortable. You know it is a negative emotion because when you go through that emotion your breathing is noisy and it's not rhythmic and soft and quiet. And when you go through this, all you have done is, you have not just suffered disturbance once. You have created the context for this disturbance to recur again in your life repeatedly. So it's not about sometimes failing in life, it's not about sometimes falling short in life, it's not sometimes that my decisions went wrong in life, it's not sometimes I have been handed over a consequence which is not what I expected. All this is going to be part of human life. We already discussed in the last InfiniPath, a challenge-free death is possible, a challenge-free life is not possible. Life is never going to be on predictable terms. If for so many years, if one man's commitment has gone right, and everything including his body cooperated to his commitment, it is just the design of life that I have aligned myself to. Do not suffer the negative for too long, do not suffer the negative too deep. One of the two, it will recur again in your life. So how intelligent and mature you are at the point of executing a choice means very little. How matured you are in dealing with the consequences is where the entire script of life is written. And by suffering the consequences, which is not what you expected, one, deeply, and two, for too long, you have just, without your knowledge, communicated to life, you like it this way. Because the design of life is that to which you associate deep emotions, it thinks those are your preferences. And because it thinks those are your preferences, it will conspire all the good people will turn into bad people and betray you because you suffered the betrayal of somebody so much, you will suffer another betrayal in life. Because one business decision of yours went wrong and you had to close down a business, you suffered it so much, life thinks you actually like to close down business and suffer. It will make you close down one more business. Because you sulk so much when your health is not okay. Life thinks you actually like it this way. And every virus that comes to town will also come to you. You're a very powerful magnet. And when I say you're a very powerful magnet, you not only have the power to attract what you want, you also have the power to repel what you don't want. They need not even come to you. They need not even be a part of you. And the power of this magnet, to a very large extent, depends on what is your emotional state in dealing with the consequences of your life. That Rama got wrong. Every time something that happened other than what he wanted, he sulked emotionally so deep that some more went wrong in his life and some more went wrong in his life, and till the end something kept going wrong in life. Ironically, everybody who had faith in Rama experienced miracles in their life, but his life was a life of a tragedy because emotionally he sulked every time things did not go the way he wanted, and he magnetized so many more disturbances into his life. And the purpose of Dasavatar itself is to show you a man has to evolve from one plane of consciousness to another plane of consciousness to another. As you live through your life, as you go through the experience of your life, you have to keep evolving to higher levels of consciousness, and that is demonstrated by whatever happened in Rama's life. An evolution happened to that being. And in a more evolved status of Krishna, here, not necessarily every time when they executed a choice, he was prudent and necessarily right. But one thing was very clear. Every time something went wrong, he accepted it equanimously. And every time something went right, he celebrated it holistically. And thereby that magnet drew a lot more celebrations into the life and repelled the disturbances of life. We are discussing science, we are discussing the highest psychology, so beautifully narrated through metaphors by Valmiki and Vedavyas. So true maturity is not how you execute your choices, true maturity is how you deal with the consequences. Sitting in the comfort of a boardroom, executing choices is not maturity. Sitting in the comfort of life where you have endless time to deliberate is not maturity. In that moment when you got the news that the plane has crashed and your husband has died, in that moment, without allowing disturbances to take over you, the spontaneity with which you handle that moment by saying that from today I'll be your father and you'll be a mother, has ensured that till today you're able to live a life feeling on top of the world. Your magnet was right. So true maturity is not the choices you execute in the comfort of your life. True maturity is the spontaneity with which you deal with the consequences of your life. So if you can get your life emotionally right, you will draw more and more of what is right into your life. So it's very, very important that you are not just able to grow into an able-minded person. The heart has to be right. The emotional maturity is very, very important. Manisha.